Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for the first episode in this new Log 360 online workshop series. My name is Siddharth. I work as a product specialist here at the ID Security Solutions at Manage Engine, and it is my pleasure to have you all here for our new workshop series. So as you know, we have revamped our online workshop agenda. We've taken your feedback seriously and we have tweaked the existing agenda to a new Log 360 workshop series. So we're going to be talking about Log 360, a complete overview today. And over the next few weeks, we're going to be talking about in-depth network security topics such as network device auditing, followed by auditing your business critical applications, and then also auditing your databases. So at this point, I just want to make sure that you have no difficulties in viewing my shared screen and that my voice is audible. And I'll just pause for like 30 seconds. And in case you have any difficulties, you can let us know in the live chat and we'll try to sort it out right away. So I hope there are no issues with the audio or in viewing my shared screen, my presentation. So like I was saying, today we'll be going through Log 360, which is our integrated solution of Event Log Analyzer and Active Directory Audit Plus. I also just want to let you know that we'll be sharing the presentation as well as the workshop video via email. So you've got that covered. We'll be sending that to you within a day. Right, so today what we're going to do is we're going to have an overview of the features provided by our product Log 360, and what we're going to be looking at is how Event Log Analyzer is going to help you mitigate external threats, and then we will have a look at how the AD Audit Plus component of Log 360 empowers you to mitigate internal threats. So that's going to be the agenda for today. And first up, let us look at what Log 360 actually is. So we came up with this product last year, which is basically an integration of two of our existing products, Event Log Analyzer and Active Directory Audit Plus. And the integration of these products provides you with a comprehensive SIEM solution. And now the reason that I say comprehensive SIEM solution is because you have this tool to combat both external as well as internal threats. And keeping that in mind, I'm going to say that Log 360 is the perfect solution for any security operations center. Now I say that because as an administrator, you are faced with a bunch of challenges. For starters, you're going to be scrutinized by your auditors for compliance. And beyond just compliance, you're going to be dealing with so many threats. And remember, the threats can be both internal as well as external. And our tool, of course, provides all the compliance reports that you need to achieve your auditing requirements, whether it's an internal ID policy of your organization or meeting a government regulatory mandate. But now, in addition to just ensuring compliance, our solution ensures that you're in a position to mitigate threats as well. So when you talk about threats, you know that you're going to have a bunch of external threats. There are a bunch of hackers, attackers out there trying to breach your organization's network. So that is sort of very obvious, I think, and I'm sure you'll all agree with me that when we talk about threats, we immediately think of, okay, something from externally is going to try to attack my organization. So mitigating those is obviously important, but then very often people sort of forget about the threats that are internal to their organization. I actually saw this really cool infographic by DDEX Systems on the cost of insider attacks in 2016. So this talked about the different insider attacks that happened in 2016 and how much it cost companies. And what was really interesting in that was they've categorized this into three types of attacks. They've talked about malicious insiders, they've talked about negligent insiders, and they've talked about credential thefts. So malicious insiders, I think, it's pretty straightforward as to what exactly a malicious insider is. But then the surprise here was that the negligent insiders seems to be causing the most number of internal threats. So that came as a surprise to me, and I'm sure it might surprise you as well, that negligent insiders are actually causing more internal threats in terms of number as opposed to malicious insider threats. And when it comes to the cost of these insider threats, the credential thefts, of course, remain to be the most expensive for companies, meaning that companies are shelling many more millions of dollars in recovering from those sort of attacks. But then the biggest problem with this is that you're taking several months to actually identify that a particular internal threat happened, a particular internal attack happened. So less than 20% of the internal threats, the internal attacks rather, are discovered within the first month. And that is just terrifying for any administrator. Just imagine that in your organization, you've had an insider attack, whether it's a credential theft or a malicious insider, or even a negligent insider for that matter. And imagine if it would take you 2 months or 3 months for you to actually discover that this happened. So that would mean that suddenly you walk into your office tomorrow and realize that in January you had this attack that happened in your organization. Now, no one's going to be amused with that. And that is why it is really important to keep check of all your internal threats as well. So this is where the AD Audit Plus component brings in a detailed user context from your Active Directory. And now what I mean by that is that you get a full control and understanding of your Active Directory environment. And my objective in this workshop is going to be to educate you on some really powerful features of Log 360, both the Event Log Analyzer component as well as the AD Audit Plus component. And I want you to be empowered and know exactly what you can extract out of these two components. So that was just a bit of an introduction to the different threats that you might be facing in your IT and how the two components of Log 360 are going to help you stay on top of these threats. So I have a screenshot of the Log 360 console. So you can see that you've got a tab for AD Audit Plus and Event Log Analyzer. You can easily see a summary on the dashboard of Log 360 and easily jump between the two components as needed. I will show you the actual products, of course, but I just had this slide in any case. So with regards to the configuring and licensing of the two components, now the ease of use is something that we strongly believe in at Manage Engine, and we truly want to simplify your IT management. So what we've done is the synchronization between these two components is very simple and easy. What I mean is if a domain is added to one component, it is going to be easily synchronized to the other. And with regards to the licensing, if you buy the auditing component license, you'll have only the AD Audit Plus in Log 360. And on the other hand, if you purchase the log management component license alone, then Event Log Analyzer alone will be available with your Log 360 console. And obviously, if you purchase the license of both the components, you will be able to carry out both the AD auditing as well as the log management functionalities of Log 360. And once the different components of Log 360 have been integrated, the data, such as the data related to your domain settings, will be automatically synchronized across each component. So that was just a bit on the regarding the configuring and licensing. So some of you might already be using the product, so this you would already know this, but some of you might be evaluating the product, so this might be useful information with regards to your evaluation. And of course, if you have any query on how the Log 360 licensing works, you can get it clarified right away on the live chat. So moving on to how we can actually mitigate these threats. So I talked about the internal threats, especially in detail, because we normally take it for granted that we need to be fighting the external threats. So in the mitigating of attacks using Log 360, we basically have two parts. The first part is going to deal with how event log analyzer is going to help you mitigate external threats. And the second part is how AD audit class brings in the Active Directory context and helps you mitigate internal threats. So the first thing that I want to talk about with regards to mitigating external threats is the threat intelligence capability of event log analyzer. And if you're evaluating any SIEM solution, I'm sure that threat intelligence is something that you're going to be looking at, because obviously in this day and age, mitigating threats is like #1 priority for any administrator. So what Event Log Analyzer's threat intelligence capability can do for you is that it enables you to detect security threats and attacks at the early stage. So using an alerting mechanism, we are sort of providing you with a preemptive mechanism so that you can stop the attack even before they happen or at the early stage. And real-time alerting, according to me, is like the most fundamental feature of any SIEM solution. Like that is the end product. You know, you're going to collect the logs. Sure, you're going to have reports. Sure, you're going to have stay compliant and so on. But at the end of it, the most important thing is to mitigate threats. And the one way you're going to do that is with real-time alerting. So the reason that I'm saying this is because if you try by yourself to correlate events happening in your network and the various IP addresses trying to access your network, and then figuring out which of these are malicious or showing some sort of anomalous behavior, and then trying to figure out what exactly happened, then you're just giving more time to the network intruder. Whereas with a threat intelligence platform, you can quickly detect attacks and take the required course of action swiftly and efficiently. So with regards to the real-time alerting, one thing that we've done for you by default is what we call the default threat alert. And this is part of the threat intelligence platform, which is integrated with dynamically updated open source databases, meaning that they're up to date, which basically has a global list of blacklisted IP addresses. So whenever one of these malicious IPs interacts with your network, you will be getting a real-time alert, which is based on an inbuilt alert profile, which I just called the default alert threat. So what is cool about this is that it requires no additional configuration of alerts, meaning by default, after a device is added to Event Log Analyzer, this alert profile is enabled. And this way, by instantly detecting the blacklisted IPs accessing your network, you can block or mitigate these threats proactively at an early stage. So that was with regards to the global IP threat database feature, which is part of our threat intelligence platform. But I've talked about why we need alerts and how alerts are going to help you mitigate threats. But one of the key things to understand is that not all security threats can be proactively mitigated. Like I told you, SIEM is really like a must-have for any security operations center, and how the alerting console of the SIEM solution is going to help you proactively mitigate threats. But then often, I mean, there's proof that despite having all this, attacks are still happening, because organizations are sometimes not even aware of the occurrence of an attack until a third-party vendor notifies them. And again, that's really quite terrifying if you ask me. And in such cases, we need to be empowered to do something in case a security incident happens. And here's where the log search helps you backtrack security attacks. So you might be asking, why is log search or why is this backtracking important? And that is because it helps you understand how the attack happened and how the attacker managed to intrude your network. And in this way, you will be able to assess the data loss and look to fix the security loopholes in your network. And most importantly, with all the information you get about the attack pattern, you will be able to proactively mitigate the same attack pattern in the future. So what we're trying to find out, and you can see that in the last point in this presentation, is that you need to know what happened backstage, how the attacker managed to access your resource, and if you have any loopholes in the security. And the answers to all these questions lies in the forensic analysis which we do using log search. So log search basically helps you to speed up the process of the attack discovery and to contain future threats with the same pattern. Because as a particular alert is triggered from your SIEM solution, you can use the log search engine to quickly backtrack the incident and figure out what happened. And with Event Log Analyzer, the various search options, and I'm going to show this to you in a moment, are going to allow you to intuitively build complex search queries and easily save these search results as a report and the query itself as an alert profile, so that when these events happen in your network, you will be alerted in real time. So now let me show you a quick demonstration of log search, and in case you already have an installation in your setup, I encourage you to try out the same simultaneously along with me, or of course you can just look at the video and then try this out after the workshop. Right, so I've got two different installations running at the moment. I've got a event log analyzer component running as well as an AD audit plus component. So I'm here on the home screen of the event log analyzer component, of course, and I'm going to be showing you now how you can use log search, how cool event log analyzer's log search engine is. It's built on Elasticsearch, and what it can do for you is drill down from millions and millions of log data to just a handful of logs in a matter of seconds. So in just a few clicks, you're going to be able to do that. And I'll just show you a quick demo as to how that can be done. So I'm going to the search tab of the product. And the first thing to do in a search, of course, is to choose the time frame of the search. So just for this purpose of this demonstration, let me go with the last 30 days. So you can see in just a couple of seconds, the product has brought to me all the logs from my database. And you can see the number right here, which says 378436, which is about 370,000 odd logs in my database. Now this number, believe it or not, is a really small number because in my installation, I just have a couple of devices added. And with just that, I'm having such a huge amount of log data in my database. So you can imagine in an organization, maybe you have 10 employees, maybe you have 100 employees, or maybe you even have 1,000 employees in your organization. So imagine the number of logs that are going to be collected on a daily basis from all their devices and workstations. And of course, this is just one part of it. You've also got your other network devices, your business critical applications, your in-house applications, and so on. So what this means is in a practical scenario such as yours in a security operations center, you're going to be having millions and millions of log data being collected on a daily or weekly basis. And being able to search through all these logs is key. So what I'm going to do to search through the log data, of course, is type out a search query. So I can type out a search query such as device equals some device name. And then what I expect is the log search engine to give to me all the logs for that particular device. So I could type a simple query such as username equals something and build a search query that way. But what we've done here is we've gone one step ahead and we've given you this feature called the click-based search. And what the click-based search does for you is it simplifies your query building process. So I have some log messages right here. So let me click on the username field and instantly I will be displayed the top and least values for all the usernames for whom I have log data. So let me do one thing before even doing this. Let me choose the log type first. So currently we're searching for all log types, but let me just say I'm going to look at Windows event log data. So I've done that, And I'm going to click on the username field in one of the log messages, and I'm displayed with the top and least values for whom I have logs in my database. So let me choose one of these users, which is actually myself. And you can see with just one click, I've got all the logs for this particular user, Siddharth-4445. So I didn't have to type out the search query username equals something. I could just use the click-based search feature, which is much more intuitive and much more easy. And then I'm able to get all the logs from that particular user in just one click. So I've reduced the number of logs in my case from about 300,000 odd logs to under 30,000 logs in just one click. I can further narrow things down, of course, using all the other fields you see right here, such as the device, the event ID, the severity, the type, and so on. So for example, if I go with severity and I click on failure, so now I instantly have all the event log data for this particular user with the severity failure. So I've brought that down to just 60. So I've got it down from 300,000 odd logs to 30,000 logs to just 60 logs in 2 clicks. So that's quite powerful and really cool if you ask me. Now I can also further narrow things down by clicking on the event ID field. So I've just got a couple of event IDs. So say I was looking at the event ID 4656. I'm able to click that and instantly get 2 logs which concern me for a particular situation. So I've got it down now from 300,000 odd logs to 30,000 odd logs to 60 to 2 logs in just 3 clicks. So just imagine how easy log search makes your life in case you're trying to look at a particular security incident. So I just took a few random clicks on my console just to show you how powerful our feature is. But just think about if you're looking at a particular security incident, you want to obviously figure out what happened quickly and try to respond as soon as possible. So in such cases, having a powerful log search engine is going to enable you to drill down from all the millions of logs of data in your database to just 1 or 2 logs that give you the picture of what happened in a particular scenario. So that was with the log search feature. And I also wanted to mention that here you can use the save search link right here. You can click on it and you can save that particular search as a report. So in case a security incident happened and you needed to report it to your for some internal audit purpose or even for your external auditors for compliance, you can very easily save that particular search report. Just give a name. You can even generate it periodically every week, every month as you need. And you can get that report emailed to you instantly. And in addition to saving the search as the report, you can also, let me just get some data here. You can also save the search query as an alert profile. So imagine typing out a particular search query, say username equals Sid and change type equals deleted. Maybe I'm deleting some file on a critical server. So any search query that I type out, I can save that as an alert directly by clicking on the Save as Alert link. And this is again coming back to what we talked about of proactively mitigating threats. So what we're trying to do is proactively mitigate threats as much as possible. And in cases where we can't, we're going to use features like the log search to sort of backtrack a security incident, quickly take action to minimize the damage if possible, and also prevent the same thing from happening again in the future. So that's where alerting, log search, and then alerting again comes in. And this is what this is a really powerful thing that our product can do for you. Right, so that was with regards to the external threat mitigation that I've talked about. And just coming back to my presentation. So as I said earlier, you also need to be covered for internal threats as well. We went over why insider threats are a major contribution to the cost of security attacks. So you obviously want to be empowered to tackle those as well. I've shown you what Event Log Analyzer can do, a broad overview of what it can do rather. We can't go through the entire thing, of course, in one workshop, but stay tuned because the next 3 weeks we're going to be talking about more in-depth security topics. We're going to look at some use cases on network device auditing, on auditing your business critical applications, your web servers, and your databases. But today I thought I'll give you an overview of what Event Log Analyzer can do, which essentially is reporting, alerting, backtracking attacks using the log search, and then trying to get alerts again for the same thing. So coming back to this slide, so we're going to look at a quick look at the internal threat mitigation capability with AD Audit Plus. And what the AD Audit Plus component provides for you is in-depth AD auditing, allowing you to keep tabs and mitigate internal threats to your security. So you can track things like unauthorized logons, privileged user activity, who changed your GPO settings, and other critical configurations such as that of your firewall. Now, because these kind of configuration changes directly impact your security and can potentially create gaps or loopholes in your system, here is where the Active Directory Audit Plus component, you can detect unauthorized attempts to access critical resources and also monitor privileged user activities with the exhaustive predefined reports available and be notified with the real-time alerting. So once again, real-time alerting comes into picture because, like I told you, that is the final objective of any SIEM solution. Of course, reporting is important. Of course, compliance is important. But at the end of the day, you want to be empowered to proactively mitigate threats, be it external or internal. So I'm going to quickly jump to the AD Audit Plus component of our product, and I'll just show you a quick walkthrough of what's in it. So this is, of course, the dashboard view of the product, which you would see as soon as you log in, and you can customize it to see exactly the kind of data that you want when you log into your console. So I'm going to take you now to the reporting tab or the reports tab, which is probably the most detailed module of this particular product. And the reason I say that is because the reporting console of AD Audit Plus gives you massive amounts of predefined reports, as you can see on the left pane, and it gives you full control over your AD infrastructure. And what I'm going to show you is, so you can see on the left pane, you've got more than 15 categories of reports, and we've also categorized them right here as logon audit, as AD changes, as GPO changes, and then you've got compliance reports. Now, internal threats and Active Directory auditing is going to be a very important role in making sure you stay compliant. Now, and you very well know that not staying compliant would mean a very hefty fine for your organization, and the blame is going to fall on the IT team. So what we've done with AD Audit Plus, as we've also done with Event Log Analyzer, is give you predefined templates for compliance reports. So if you take a particular compliance like SOX, instantly you have all the reports that you need in order to stay SOX compliant. Now we're going to be tracking a bunch of things like logon duration, the administrative user actions, and so on. And all I need to do is click on a particular report. So let me take user management. And I instantly get the data that I need for this particular report. So in case of user management, I'm looking at things like the users modified, the users deleted, and the users created. I've got this as a neat pie chart right here, but more importantly, I have all the details below. I've got all the details for all the users created, deleted, and modified in one single console. Now, what I want to tell you here is you can, of course, export this particular report as a PDF or a CSV file as required. And in this way, the compliance section ensures that you have all the reports for you to neatly furnish to any internal audit or for any external audit that's coming for your compliance. Now, this looks neat that you've got a neat little graph, a neat little pie chart in this case, but the most important thing is you can do a search of all this data to get exactly what you need. So for example, you can easily search for each of these fields. You've got like the username, the caller username, the domain controller, and so on. And you can search for each of these particular fields. What I mean by that is, for example, if you wanted to know which were the users created by a particular caller, you can very well key in that and get the data for that particular caller. So the point I'm trying to make by showing you this report, I can't go about showing all the 200 reports, of course, but what I wanted to let you know was that we're allowing you to micromanage your Active Directory without you having to struggle and without scripting, without the hassles of managing all the logs from Active Directory. We are putting them all down in neat reports, and you can just click on a particular report and get the data that you're looking for. I'd very much encourage all of you to sort of download the product in case you haven't already and sort of look at each of the reports that we are providing in each of these categories, because you might have encountered a problem previously with regards to some sort of Active Directory audit, and you might well be happy to know that that particular thing that you struggled with in the past is directly being presented to you as a predefined report. And if you ask me what the best part of all these predefined reports is, it's, as always, it's the alerts, meaning you can associate alerts for each of these predefined reports that you see. Now, what that means is whenever any critical change happens in your Active Directory, you can configure it to be alerted in real time for that. For whatever report you see in the predefined report section, you can associate alerts for each of these reports. So in this way, you're able to stay compliant. You're able to know exactly what is going on in your Active Directory in real time, and you're able to be alerted for any critical changes or security threats that's happening inside your organization. So before I show you another couple of reports, I also wanted to mention that in this case, I'd shown you the user management report, of course, but I can also look at something which is, this is of course just a summary, but I can also look at something which is more specific and relevant to a particular situation. Meaning if I look at the reports under user management and I click on recently created users, rather than looking at all the created users in my Active Directory, I can look at something which is much more of a security concern, much more of an auditing concern, if I will, on the recently created users. So I'm able to instantly see who created the new users in Active Directory. I can see I've got this particular user creating 18 new users, and then this user creating 15, and this user creating 8. And as always, I can search for the particular data that I need. So I can very easily search for a particular caller username. So if I look at the username Vivin, I can instantly get all the users created by this particular caller username Vivin. So we saw this right here in the who created these users, and using the search, I can drill down and get all the data that I need. So I hope this gives you a bit of an idea of how you can stay on top of your entire Active Directory environment in one single console, and how you've got reports, you've got compliance reports as well, and how by associating alerts for these reports, you're easily able to stay on top of what's going on in your Active Directory. So like I said before, I want you also to look at these reports in the console and figure out what might be useful for your requirements. And I'd also like to show you a few more reports. So we looked at a few 80 change related reports, such as users getting created. But let me also show you on how AD Audit Plus can help you track unauthorized attempts to confidential data. That, of course, is going to be the file audit component of Active Directory Audit Plus. But one of the things that you need to look at even before that is the log on, log off auditing. Now, as you know, as an administrator, log on failures could be a big concern for you, especially for things such as, say, a bad username or a bad password, and things like that. And the reason I say this is because they are susceptible to attacks. And as an administrator, you need to give attention to things like an account being locked out or a password expiry, or more obvious messages like the administrator should reset the password on the account. And with AD Audit Plus, you can track all of this in real time with our reports and alerts. So for example, if I look at this section on the user logon reports, I can look at logon failures. Let me just change the time frame for this particular report. Say I look at the logon failures in the last 3 months. I can instantly see the top user logon failures. And you know, as an administrator, that multiple user logon failures is obviously anomalous, it's obviously suspicious, and that's something that you need to look into right away. And of course, you can always associate these reports to alerts and be alerted in real time for, say, alerts for logon failures due to a bad username. So this is just one part of tracking unauthorized access attempts, but let me show you also the file audit component of AD Audit Plus. So this, of course, gives you a summary of the different things such as the file and folder modifications, the fail accesses, the top users who modified the files. And what I can do is, say I go to a section, user-based reports, I can see things like the files created, the files modified, the files deleted maybe, so that might be a concern for you. So if let me just change the time period for this report so that I can show you some data. So I'm able to see things that concern me as a security administrator. I'm able to see things such as which users are deleting files, which users are modifying or creating new confidential files and folders. And one of this, just as how failed logons would concern you, obviously failed attempts to access a particular folder might concern you. So if someone is trying to access a confidential file or folder and they're repeatedly failing their access, it obviously means that they're up to no good. So you've got reports like the fail attempt to read file, the fail attempt to write file, fail attempt to delete file, and as always, you can see the top users who are having the fail attempts for each of these events. So this way, this is the second thing that I've shown you in the AD Audit Plus component, which is to detect unauthorized access attempts to your business critical information. And the final thing that I want to show you is privileged user monitoring. Now, as an administrator, you guys are obviously privileged users, and you know the powers that are vested upon privileged users. And you know the saying, they say, with great power comes great responsibility. So one of the main things that I said that for was because you want to be able to track all your administrative actions. You want to be in control of all the admins in your organization, which are the privileged users, and you want to be able to track exactly what changes and what activity they're doing, because changes made by them can potentially put your organization at risk. Either maybe it was deliberate, maybe it was by mistake. Either way, you need to be on top of exactly what changes are being made in your network by your administrators. So with that in mind, I want to show you this one pretty cool report that we've got in AD Audit Plus. So this comes under the user management section again. I'm sorry, it comes under the account management section, and it's the administrative user actions report. So what I can do with the administrative user actions report is I can track all the privileged user activities. So the first thing that you can see here is that we've already got an administrator, Karthik, and we can track all the changes that he's doing for user management, for computer management, for group management, for OU management, and for GPO management. And it might concern you, say, if a particular administrator made a modification to one of your GPOs, because that could create sort of changes in who gets to access what. And such changes, you obviously want to be on top of that and you want to know what exactly is happening. And more importantly, you can be alerted for such critical changes made to your GPO. So all you need to do to use this particular report is you can add an administrator right here. And once you add this particular administrator, you can immediately start tracking all the changes that he's doing in your Active Directory environment. So like I said, you've got all the user management, the computer management, group management, the OU management, and the GPO management. You can very easily see the details such as the modified time, who changed, which of course in this case is the concerned administrator. You can see the domain controller which was used and the message. I also wanted to mention that we have this feature right here which is add or remove columns, and what it allows you to do is you can sort of get more data than what you're seeing on the screen right here. So we've collected all the logs and processed them, and while developing the product, we've decided that this would probably be the data that most administrators will be looking for. But in case you're looking for something else, it might well be available as additional columns right here. So I've got a bunch of things. If you want to see the SID or the primary domain, for example, you can very well click on that, say the caller user ID, and you can start seeing that in the report as well. So I've clicked that and now I can see the caller user SID as part of the data. So there are a lot of these little things in AD Audit Plus. I mean, to start off with, there's a massive number of reports, but in addition to all that, there's a lot of little things such as this add or remove columns, which helps you to get more data out of your reports. You can, of course, customize reports. You can use the My Reports that you see right here to store frequently used reports. This is sort of like a favorites report section where you can just dump all the reports that you need to be using frequently so that you can easily access them. You can schedule reports, you can aggregate reports. So what I want to really say to sort of wrap up today's workshop is that there's a bunch of really cool features in both Event Log Analyzer and AD Audit Plus. And just exploring them, it's quite intuitive because we've tried to make things simple when it comes to ID management in general. So if you just look at all these reports, you can sort of see there are a lot of these little things that when you look at them, you might be like, oh, okay, last year I had this issue, and it's neat that you're providing a predefined report which instantly solves the problem that I'm setting out to solve. So I also want to let you know that if you have any queries with Log360, you can ask them right away right here on the live chat, and we try to answer them. And if you need any assistance with configuring and setting up Log360, you can of course contact our support team offline. So in case you didn't, in case if any of your questions were unanswered, we'll try to answer them offline. But at the moment, we are of course available to answer them right away. And once again, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us, and I hope to see you all next week as well. We're going to be talking about network device auditing in the next workshop. I don't want to keep you for the entire 1 hour because it's just the post-lunch session, and I'm sure there's a lot of work to be done as well. So thank you so much for joining us, guys, and have an awesome day ahead.